welcome back our good friend Stephen Hoffman, affectionately known as Captain Hoff, here from Founderspace. Stephen's going to talk to us about AI, robotics, and the future of humanity. So pretty tall order there for the title. So good luck, Captain. Welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here with all of you again. Yes, so today I'm going to go into the future of robotics, AI, and humanity. What is going to come? And for those of you who don't know me, I run Founderspace in Silicon Valley, which is a global incubator and accelerator. So let me kick it off by sharing my screen with all of you. So Founderspace is actually headquartered in San Francisco, but we operate globally. So right now we have over 50 partners in 22 countries. And before the pandemic, I spent a lot of time traveling. And now that I've been vaccinated, I am back on the road. So I'm actually in New York right now in Manhattan. And Founderspace has won a number of awards. We were ranked #1 by Forbes magazine for accelerators catering to overseas startups. Entrepreneur magazine also ranked us #1. And I am the author of 3 books. So my first book, Make Elephants Fly, is all about the process of radical innovation. My second book, which just came out, published by HarperCollins, Surviving a Startup, teaches entrepreneurs everything they need to know to actually survive and grow their businesses. And my new book, which is set to come out in August, The 5 Forces, goes into the future of technology and humanity. And I'm going to touch on a bit of that in today's lecture. So let's dive into it. AI, robotics, and the future of humanity. So right now, a lot of people don't realize this, but they are using more and more robots in farms. They're using robots for everything from picking fruit, even delicate fruit like berries. They actually have robots that can pick a fruit that's so delicate they thought only human fingers could manage it. But now robots are able to do it without crushing the berries. And at Harper University, they actually have built an entire farm that is completely robotized. Like literally from planting the seeds all the way through harvest, it's nothing but robots with no human intervention, except of course, to maintain and repair these robots. Now, if this seems strange to you, it's actually the future. This is what's happening across industries. You know, Foxconn is pushing out robots now. The chairman of Foxconn said humans are difficult and he would rather have his entire workforce automated through robots and software. So this is coming. We are literally automating everything that can be automated by combining AI and robotics. Now, robots don't just have to be big. A lot of people think of, human-sized robots, humanoid robots, or these big machines, but robots can be tiny. Actually, Rolls-Royce is developing a tiny robot that they can put inside a jet engine to actually inspect and potentially repair problems with the jet engine. Now, the problem Rolls-Royce has today is that if they want to get inside the engine, they actually have to disassemble it, which is hugely time-consuming and expensive. So in the future, what they want is to just send in these little robots that are like little cockroaches, and they can go in and detect if there's a reason to actually take apart the engine. Robots on Mars. Now, we all know Elon Musk wants to send humans to Mars. At the same time, getting a human to Mars is no easy task. It's an incredibly hard task. There are solar flares, radiation. The human body wasn't meant to be in zero gravity situations for very long. So there are a lot of complications that can happen. Also, once the human gets to Mars, there are a huge number of obstacles in our way, not to mention that Mars is an incredibly hostile environment. It's a toxic environment. for humans to survive on Mars will be very difficult. And then for them to sustain themselves and actually start agriculture and everything else, very, very difficult. Just landing on Mars is difficult, and landing so that a human doesn't get injured or killed, extremely hard. And then what if the human wants to go back home? We have to solve that problem, or they're stuck on Mars forever. However, robots are a perfect solution. And honestly, for most of our exploration into the future, especially the further we go out past our solar system, robots are going to be the pioneers, because robots, can be designed to deal with extremely harsh environments that humans can't. So we are going to see big robots going, small robots, flying robots, crawling robots, all types of robots will be on these planets doing the work and preparing the way for eventual human colonization. Police are now using robots. So they already have General Dynamics with their robot dog, and they've deployed that dog to actually go into certain locations and check things out, with its cameras. But these robots are quite controversial. Where do we draw the line when it comes to robots and policing? Do we give robots the right to take lethal action against human beings? Should robots be able to physically subdue humans? Should robots be able to potentially shoot and kill humans? This is a question that remains open. And most people don't know this, but already in Texas, they actually used a robot in a lethal way to kill a person who was planting a bomb and a threat, and they went in there and they took him out with the robot. So that actually happened. That was the first case where a robot police unit actually took action, harmful action against a person. In the future, will we see more of this? Well, my prediction is we will. Robots are going to be on the front lines. But in most cases, we have an opportunity to actually lower violence between law enforcement and people. And as we all know, with Black Lives Matter, this has been a big deal. Like, people are getting killed out there by law enforcement. And a lot of times, there are all sorts of different circumstances. But the fact is, people are emotional. People get pumped with adrenaline. People overreact in situations. So it's very easy for a human to overreact and actually use excessive force, actually kill somebody, even when that person had no bad intentions. With a robot, however, we can actually program them so that they never use lethal force. Because even if somebody has a gun and they're shooting at a robot, the robot doesn't have to shoot back. We can build robots that can survive gunshots and not take a lot of damage, bulletproof robots. And even if the robot gets injured, it's not like a human is getting killed. So the robots could use other non-lethal ways to subdue humans, throwing out nets, using pepper spray, using all sorts of different ways, literally hugging the human, capturing them, enveloping them in some form. There's a lot of room for innovation here. And I think law enforcement could actually become gentler, kinder, and more responsive to people's needs without risking lethal force if we deploy robots in the right way. So there's great potential here. There's also great potential for abuse, especially if certain governments send out these robots and actually arm them and let them run amok. So, on both sides, the technology has pluses and minuses, but overall, in the United States, I think we will see this transition and we will see a positive impact. Robots are becoming not just smarter through AI, but they are also becoming curious. Now, this is a trait we associate with humans. We are curious beings. That's why we figure out stuff. That's why we invent stuff and innovate and are always exploring. Now, Honda and MIT have actually teamed up to start to build robots that actually learn to learn. They learn how to learn by trying things, by being curious, by asking questions. Now, this is a whole new area where we are going with AI and robotics. So you are going to see robots out there that go out into the real world and actually start interacting with objects and with environments and start to figure out what they can do and how it works. And the beauty of robots is that, unlike humans, when a human is born into the world, we need to educate that human. And educating that human takes a lot of time. Look, we are in, school for most people are in school for at least 12 years until they graduate high school. And then there's the undergraduate, which you would probably want to go to if you're going to be, get a great job, and graduate school. So humans spend a lot of time learning. To train a new human takes a lot of time. The beauty of robots and AI is that if you train one robot once, just once, every other robot that is connected to that robot can learn the same thing instantly. So we can literally, as we send robots into the world, and we are doing this right now, we can literally take that knowledge that they are learning and then just instantly disperse it across all the other robots that are similar to them in the world. Robots can be sharing learning, and the rate at which robots can become more and more adept at tasks grows exponentially. This is the value, this is the power, and this is why we're going to see robots take over so many jobs. Not only will they be good at the job, but once one robot learns it, every other robot can know it. You don't have to train them like humans. They never take sick leave like humans. They never file lawsuits like humans. They work day and night, unlike humans. It's really fascinating what this transition we are going to be going through in the next decade as robots and automation take over a lot of the jobs. Literally everything, I predict, everything that can be automated will be automated. It's just a matter of time. Evolutionary robots. This is where it gets really interesting. We're not just creating robots that are static. We're actually now in the lab, like at University of Amsterdam and other universities, we are creating robots that actually can create themselves, that can evolve. So we know how humans evolve, and it takes a long time. Human evolution, happens over millennia, right? We evolve very, very slowly. Robots, however, could evolve very fast. So they have actually designed simulations where they will not even build a robot, not even actually build it, just simulate it on a computer, all its parts. And then they will put it in different environments. And then the robot will be able to upgrade and try out new appendages, new types of hands that grasp things, new vision tools, so they will be able to reconfigure their body over and over and over at the speed of a computer simulation, which is almost instant. Like just interacting with different environments, with different physical environments that are simulated in this environment, and then upgrading themselves. And then we hook this simulation up to a machine, advanced 3D printing manufacturing machine that can actually make the robot, put it out in the real world, and then measure how that robot performs in the real world. And as the robots go out there with different, some might have 8 arms, 8 appendages, others might have 3, some might have wheels, others have claws, some might have treads, and some will have different vision and hearing systems. These robots will go out into the world and interact with whatever environment they're in and perform tasks. And as they perform tasks, they will try it with a variety of different robots. Those robots that perform really well, those will be propagated. They will move forward and evolve. And those that don't do well, survival of the fittest, those will be removed from the gene pool, the robot gene pool, and won't be used. So this applies to everything from the robot hands. You want to perfect a robot hand. Well, first simulate on a computer, then build a bunch of different various types, put them out into the real world, see which robot hands work the best for which tasks. And then those that work the best, you keep those and you keep evolving them and iterating on them. And those that don't work well, you just kill them off. You just don't use them again. So that is the beauty of evolutionary robots. Now, at University of Reading in the UK, they actually put a living brain inside a robot, not a human brain. They actually put a mini brain. It's a brain that is grown out of stem cells. So it really has the basic building blocks of a human brain, the same cells, but it's much smaller. And it's artificially, it's grown in a lab. So they took this mini brain, they put it inside a robot, and literally that robot could learn using this little biological brain inside this machine, could learn to navigate around a room. Isn't that crazy? Like, I think that's crazy. Actually combining a human or human-like intelligence with robotics. Now, in the future, we may not have purely mechanical robots with electronics in them. We may actually combine the power of a biological brain with a mechanical robot, giving it different abilities to think and act more like humans. The question we need to ask is, will a robot, if we make these brains big enough and powerful enough, these biological brains, will they actually gain consciousness? And then what does that mean? Like, will these become sentient? We don't know the answer to this. The scientists doing these experiments do not know the answer to this. It's an open question. But what they do know is that they've made these little mini brains and they've measured the brain waves, and the larger they make them, the more they resemble human brains. Can robots be creative? So at McCann, a big advertising agency, they actually built a robot creative director to actually come up with ideas, sketch them out, participate in the creative process. The answer is robots and AI can be creative, because being creative is not some magic. Nobody, whether you're Picasso or Einstein, you don't get an idea out of nowhere. You get an idea by combining different things that you have experienced in your life and putting them together in new ways. Einstein called it combinatorial play. Picasso borrowed from everybody. He said, great artists steal. And what he meant is all that is out there, and he's basically stealing it, but digesting it and putting it out there in a new way. Robots will be doing the same thing, but honestly, they will be able to paint amazing paintings, create music. They're already doing this. Robots are already creating music. They will be able to write poetry. AI can already write poetry, news articles. All these things we thought were in the human domain are not necessarily exclusive to human beings. Robots will be able to do this. And honestly, when we look at art, we decide if it's great art based on how we feel as people. If a robot creates art that we all respond to and we love, and we say, oh my God, I can't tell that from a great master, then is that great art? Well, it probably is, and it probably will be in the future. Robot emotions. So robots are now being designed to actually display human emotions. And you can see it here on the screen, sadness, happiness, and they have developed emotion detectors. Like at MIT, they have one, and they can actually send out waves and that bounce off a human and actually determine with great accuracy, like 89% accuracy, what the human emotion is. Is the human sad? Is the human happy? Is the human angry? And then the robot can respond to that in appropriate ways. So we won't really ever know, because we can't get inside a robot's head, whether they are truly conscious in the way humans are conscious. But they will be able to simulate consciousness, including emotions, to such a degree in the future that we won't be able to tell them apart from a conscious, intelligent being. This is where we're headed. So robots will also begin to look more and more like humans. Can you tell on this picture who is the real human and who is the robot? Hiroshi Ishiguro in Japan has been experimenting with building lifelike robots, and we are just at the beginning of this. There will come a time within the next decade for sure where we will have robots walking around the room that we literally cannot tell from human beings unless we get really close and maybe touch them. Perhaps then we will start to know, we will see signs that they're a robot, but literally from across the room, we won't be able to tell. So what does that mean? Will we have robot companions in the future? Will we live with robots? Will we take robots into our homes and fall in love with them like we would a human? Well, the answer is probably yes. This it will probably happen. And the scary thing is, and the questions we have to ask are, is this good for humanity? Because look, if husband, there's the divorce rate is close to 60%, and even of the couples that are married, they're not that happy. Having a relationship with humans takes a lot of work. It's not easy. Humans have different desires, different wills. Humans aren't perfect. But if we could have the perfect mate who would literally uh, fit us to a T, understand us better than anybody else, was willing to do the dishes, take out the trash, do everything without complaint, and looks exactly like we want them to look, that would be pretty tempting. But that may mean that we start to choose robots that we build over having relationships with other humans. What does that mean for society? Where will that take us? Will we become living in little bubbles, each of us, with our robot companions, and not really taking the time and energy and challenge to interact with human beings? Will we become stunted, childlike beings that never have to grow because everything we want is literally given to us in the way we want it? Not like a real relationship where we have a challenge. And if we're going to make it work, we have to invest in it. We have to put ourselves into it, and we have to grow as human beings. This is the danger, and it's something that society will need to grapple with. Business without workers. We are coming to a future where businesses will literally have no workers. And what does that mean for humanity? What will we do in a world without jobs? Well, on the bright side, if you have hobbies, if you're an interested, curious person, if you don't want to flip burgers, or if your job is really boring, you can actually do whatever you want because there will be plenty. The danger is that a few people, a small elite, will monopolize these robots and the ability to manufacture and generate money and revenue, and they will become incredibly rich while the rest of humanity will be at their mercy. So we really need to figure out, in a world that potentially could have plenty, because robots will be doing all these jobs for us, all and producing more than we could ever ask for. Will that be shared with the majority of humans? Will it make our lives better, or will we actually just be unemployed and living in not great conditions while a small minority benefits from this change? This change is happening. It's going to happen. We need to start planning for it and delving into the policy questions today. Lastly, should robots have human rights? So there is a question right now is, as robots become smarter, as they become able to emulate humans, as they become distinguishable from sentient beings, what rights should they have? Should they just be our slaves? Is that what we want out of a future with robots? Will robots put up with that? These are other questions that our society will have to deal with as we move into the future of robotics and AI. Now, I'm out of time. I only scratched the surface, but if you're really interested in this topic and many more about science and technology and where we're headed, check out my book, The 5 Forces That Change Everything, because it's all in there in depth. I really speculate on this and paint out various scenarios that we, as a human race, as a society, and as a species, need to grapple with now before these problems happen. And if you want to reach out to me personally because you want to submit your business plan to Founderspace or contact me for any reason, just go to founderspace.com. I am also available on all the social networks: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search for Founderspace. Thank you so much for sharing this with me.